Good morning. It's February 27th. Welcome back to BWN. I'm Kate Zelkowitz here with your mid to late February news. Thanks for tuning in. In a dramatic turn of events in Dalton last week, the firing of the town manager's executive assistant, Alyssa Machino, by the select board has sent shockwaves through the community. The board accused her of betrayal for forwarding an anonymous letter that criticized board member Mark Strout's Facebook post about town leadership. Following her dismissal, Kira Smith, a colleague in the town manager's office, resigned, and the entire Dalton Cultural Council has stepped down in protest. Machino, who served as the chair of the council, played a crucial role in promoting the arts and organizing events for the town. With the Cultural Council disbanded, the Dalton community faces a significant decline in support for local arts and cultural initiatives. Machino has also resigned from her position on the Open Space and Recreation Committee, citing a loss of trust in local government. Town manager Thomas Hutchison, who was responsible for handling Machino's termination, did not comment during the meeting. But town clerk Heather Hunt expressed concern over the low morale in Dalton, describing the atmosphere as increasingly tense. In a letter sent February 14th from the Department of Education, Acting Assistant Secretary Craig Traynor warned all educational institutions that their federal funding could be at risk if they refuse to cease diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, programs that the administration has deemed illegal. The message alleged that institutions have unfairly discriminated against students based on race, including white and Asian students, and it references admissions, hiring, financial aid, and other aspects of campus life as problematic areas. The warning cites the Supreme Court's 2023 decision in Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard, which ruled affirmative action in college admissions illegal. Traynor's letter prompted an immediate reaction from many higher education institutions, and just a week later, on February 21st, a federal judge temporarily blocked the executive orders aimed at ending the federal government's involvement and support of DEI programming through a preliminary injunction. On February 12th, MCLA's Office of Institutional Equity and Belonging, along with Friel Library, kicked off their new speaker series, Breaking Bread, with a lecture from MCLA student Esmerée Smith. Our field reporting team has the story.
Hi, we're here with Esmerée Smith, an MCLA student from our last presentation that we just saw, Breaking Bread series. Would you like to say a little bit more about what that presentation meant to you?
Yes. So the Breaking Bread series that I did was titled The Patriarchy, Black Men Exist. It talked about how the patriarchy and white supremacy in general has commodified and sexualized the body of black men.
During your presentation, you shared a lot of amazing things on top of your own personal experiences. Do you think it's important for more people like you or with similar traumas to share out more and talk about more?
I would say yes. A big part of the portion that I did bring up in the presentation was that a lot of the times these traumas are commodified and exploited for entertainment purposes. And I believe that people who look like me talking about their trauma in a more open and honest way, in a way that truly delves into the depravity of what has happened to us, because unfortunately a lot of the trauma that does happen to black men is played off by society. Once we start to reclaim that trauma and then talk about it in a way that actually highlights it as a trauma, then the quicker we can to stop the problem.
Thank you so much for spending time with me right now, Esmerée. We'll be right back to the main studio, so see you guys there.
Dickon Crane, a fourth-generation farmer from Dalton, is facing uncertainty after a promised $46,000 reimbursement from the federal government has been delayed for over a week due to a partial funding freeze from the USDA. Despite assurances from the Trump administration that such funds wouldn't be affected, Crane has already begun layoffs and fears for the long-term impact on operations. The freeze involves a pause on millions of dollars in funding for various programs, particularly those which aim to support clean energy and agriculture. The situation leaves farmers like Crane unsure if any reimbursement for these completed projects is coming. Local agricultural advocates are calling for clarity from the government, saying the uncertainty is demoralizing and could deter farmers from pursuing further essential improvements. Following a series of unrelenting winter weather in mid-February, MCLA's campus became increasingly dangerous and difficult to navigate, with cars buried under heavy snow and pathways rendered nearly impassable. For over a week, uncleared snow was compacted by foot and vehicle traffic, forming a layer as thick as 4 inches in some areas, across walkways, parking lots, dorm entryways, and front steps. The icy layer covered most of MCLA's campus, creating problems for both faculty and students. With poorly plowed parking areas and cars buried under multiple layers of snow and ice, many students found their only means of transportation snowed in. Without shovels, most relied on snow brushes to dig their vehicles out. The thick ice made sidewalks, particularly in the quad, nearly inaccessible. MCLA's maintenance crew was overwhelmed, lacking manpower and affected by the rock salt shortage, and they struggled to tackle the massive task. As temperatures begin to rise, melting snow and ice are creating small ponds in potholes and revealing the damage done to streets and parking lots. In response to allegations of sexual abuse at Miss Hall's school in Pittsfield, a newly proposed law in Massachusetts seeks to criminalize sexual relations between adults in positions of authority and minors, regardless of the state's age of consent. Representative Lee Davis introduced the bill following allegations against former Miss Hall's school teacher, Matthew Rutledge, who was accused of misconduct by multiple alumni. Both the Berkshire District Attorney's Office and local police are investigating the claims against Rutledge. The legislation has garnered significant community support, with over 450 signatures on a petition started by a concerned parent. Davis says the current laws are inadequate and fail to provide sufficient protection for minors from exploitation by trusted adults. Meanwhile, Miss Hall's school has expressed its commitment to supporting reformed consent laws in Massachusetts. As of February 19th, over 1,000 Berkshire community households have already exhausted their fuel assistance, leaving them vulnerable to the harsh winter conditions. When fuel assistance programs opened in November, residents faced the lowest funding allocation in 7 years, prompting the state to increase benefits based on household size and income. Despite the increase, the Berkshire Community Action Council, BCAC, which administers the Home Energy Assistance Program, must triage that support for the nearly 9,000 applicants, prioritizing those relying on deliverable heat sources like oil and propane, which are not protected by the state's winter moratorium on utility shutoffs. A local fundraising effort is underway to provide emergency fuel funds to households that have already depleted their benefits. BCAC has secured limited funding to assist seniors and families with young children, but this is restricted to just 100 gallons per household. For those who don't qualify for BCAC's funding, referrals are being made to local churches and other organizations for additional support. The Church Street Center is the home of many fine and performing arts classes for MCLA students, as well as a performance space to showcase their hard work. Since 2024, the space has been shared with kids programs from the North Adams YMCA. But for MCLA students and faculty, the close quarters are causing problems. BWN correspondent Tony Marie Basil is in the field to learn more.
Since the fall, many complaints have arisen regarding the North Adams YMCA disrupting various departments in MCLA's Church Street Center.
I pray with these people, I play for these people, I've married them, I've buried them, but I can't watch their kids while I'm trying to change lives. This is where we teach. And this is the space where we're thinking about, if this were a math building or a history building or a science building, it would be disappointing, it would be challenging. But we teach music. This is music. This is things that happen in sound, in our audio space. We're listening intently to hear something that might be very minute or covered, but we have to listen with invested ears. No, it was here. It was here at the beginning of the fall, and I didn't know that they were coming.
I don't think I ever got like an email or anything. I think everyone was kind of blindsided by it. I think the biggest thing is just noise level, because the building is super echoey to like honestly to the point where you can't even like practice your instrument in there because it's like so echoey. It used to be like a synagogue. So I think noise is one of the biggest factors.
Often students try to come early and do some work in the recording studios, and they're recording. This is not acceptable. You can't have children's voices in the background while you're making a recording. It's not what education is supposed to be. It's not what we promised students when they came here to learn this stuff. Kids run the stairs, run around that hallway and back into the social hall, and they're running right by those practice rooms. Those practice rooms are completely ineffective.
A lengthy investigation has led to a major drug bust in the Berkshires, with law enforcement seizing over $200,000 worth of drugs, 20 firearms, and $60,000 in cash. On February 7th, authorities executed 23 search warrants across Pittsfield, North Adams, and Lowell, targeting homes, vehicles, and a storage facility. 9 people were arrested on drug and firearm charges, while 1 suspect remains at large. Investigators recovered 320 grams of heroin, 700 grams of cocaine, and 300 grams of fentanyl pills. The operation involved multiple agencies, including local and state police, as well as federal law enforcement. Authorities say this is part of an ongoing effort to disrupt drug trafficking networks and keep illegal firearms off the streets. All arrests were made peacefully, and officials are continuing to investigate additional connections. The intense winter weather in January and February has taken a toll on MCLA's aging buildings and infrastructure. Last episode, we covered the major emergency repairs being done to the flag townhouses, which have since been completed. An in-depth article on the project is available now on theonlinebeacon.com. This week, 2 more buildings on campus suffered massive damage. The Greenhouse, a building in the townhouse complex that's home to the laundry facilities for most Phase 2 residents, as well as a common space and TV lounge for students, was closed this week after a persistent leak in the laundry area caused a partial ceiling collapse. Residents had noticed the leak growing in size and intensity for several weeks, collected by rubber bins, until on February 22nd, ResLife sent out an email officially closing the Greenhouse until further notice, directing them to use the Phase 1 laundry room instead. Sunday morning brought more damage when it was discovered that a heating coil had burst somewhere between the basement and first level of Murdoch Hall. Facilities workers estimate that the coil ruptured around midnight the night before and was not discovered until 5 a.m. the next day, creating a 5-hour window for water to flood one side of both the basement and first floors. Built in 1897, Murdoch Hall is the oldest building on MCLA's campus and has oak subfloors, which, according to facilities staff, became saturated with water and warped heavily. In addition, sections of the sheetrock and the ceiling have been ruined by the water damage. With the water no longer leaking, facilities staff still have a very long road ahead in repairing the building, beginning first by drying out the affected areas. Students taking classes in Murdoch Hall this week have said it sounds like a tornado when classroom doors are open, as a small army of industrial fans work to circulate the air in affected areas. No timeline has been given to students for repairs in either building, but it's clear that MCLA's facilities and maintenance staff have a big task on their hands this spring. As we reported last episode, MCLA is moving forward with its plans for a new art center on campus. The project is continuing to be questioned by members of the college community, including staff, students, and even state representative and MCLA trustee John Barrett III. A multi-million-dollar donation from California artist Carolyn Campagna-Kleefeld will fund the state-of-the-art facility. However, Barrett has pressed for clarification on whether the Board of Trustees needs to approve the gift, citing Massachusetts general laws that require board approval for gifts to institutions, as well as expressing concern over the potential closure of Gallery 51 in downtown North Adams, calling it a significant loss for the community. MCLA President James Burge has countered, saying the gift is being given directly to the MCLA Foundation, which can accept it without board approval since it's a private nonprofit organization and not run by the institution itself. Burge also promised that MCLA will maintain its downtown presence through partnerships. Barrett additionally raised concerns about the impact of Kleefeld's past donation to California State University at Long Beach, citing student backlash. Burge told the Board of Trustees that the donation would be handled differently by MCLA to prioritize student benefit. That's all we have for you today, but there's more to come. So make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, MCLA Beacon, and following us on Instagram at MCLABWN, so you're always up to date. Thanks for joining us. On behalf of the BWN team, I'm Kate Selkowitz. Have a great day.